this video, we're going to learn how we can configure our Vision gradebook for a Virtual Loudoun course. In specific, how we can categorize our assignments so that the academic school year is calculated based on a ratio of 8 to 2 when comparison to the final exam. Or, for layman's terms, the academic school year counts for 80% of the student's grade, while the final exam counts for 20%. The easiest way to go about doing this is by setting up categories within your already pre-existing gradebook. The first thing we have to do is we have to navigate to our gradebook. We navigate to our course where we have instructor rights, and we click on grades in the administration block. The grades administration block will be in different spots based on the customization of where you want it to be. So the first thing that we're taken to is a screen that looks like the typical grader report, which shows us all of our students and all of the grades that student may have in our course. As you can see, this student only has a couple of grades in the course, but that shouldn't hinder us from actually adding categories to some of our assignments. The first step that we have to do after we've selected the grades underneath the administration tab is to click on the drop down on the top left hand corner. What we're going to select underneath categories and items is the simple view of categories and items. Once you click on that, the page will reload and we'll see that all of our assignments are all now chunked together right here. The first thing that we have to do is we have to create our first category. The first category that we're going to create is the academic school year category. If you scroll to the very bottom of your page, you'll see a button that says Add Category. Go ahead and click on that. A new window will load. That window, once it loads, we're simply just going to type academic school year in that window. There it is. So right here underneath grade category, where it says category name, we're simply going to type academic school year. We don't need to worry about any of these other fields. We can collapse them by default. They may already be collapsed for you, but we're going to go ahead and click Save Changes. And now you'll notice in your simple view of your categories and items, if you scroll down to the very bottom of all your grades, some of you may have some more grades than I, you'll see the first thing is academic school year. What we want to do now is move all of these assignments underneath this category right here. It's not a difficult task to do at all. If we scroll up to the very top, scroll over to the very right hand side, and you may need to scroll down to scroll over, and then scroll back up, you'll see a button that says Select All. If I simply click on that, it by default selects all of my assignments, as you can see right here. And it's okay if you already have a final created and you've selected that. You can certainly move it into the academic category, and then we'll simply move it out in the next step. So we've selected all of our assignments, and right down the very bottom of the screen, you'll see Move Selected Items To, and it gives you a drop down. If I simply click on that drop down, one of my choices should be academic school year. I simply click on academic school year, and when the page refreshes, you'll see now that all of our assignments are now nested underneath the academic school year. So now what we're going to do is complete that exact same process for creating our final exam category. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the screen. I'm going to click on Add Category and simply type FINAL, Final Exam, and hit Save Changes. Now we've created two categories. We've created an academic school year category, and if you scroll down to the very bottom, a final exam category. You will notice that currently there are no assignments in the final exam category because we have placed all of them underneath the academic school year. So what we would like to do is we're going to navigate to our final exam, which in this particular course, it's the course culminating activity assignment. I simply select that activity to be moved. So if I scroll over the right-hand side, I select on the far right-hand side the actual activity that I want to move. Down at the bottom, I select Move Items to Selected To, and I simply select Final Exam. Once the page reloads, you will now see that we have all of our all of our assignments underneath the academic school year. And if we scroll to the very bottom, you'll see the final exam now has my culminating activity underneath it. So now that we've set up the categories, what we need to do is actually weight our categories in a ratio, as I said earlier, of 80% to 20% or 8 to 2 or however you'd like to predetermine that. That's certainly fine, whatever works for you. What we're going to do is we're going to scroll up to the very top of our category and item simple view. And right here, the name of the course is listed at the very top. What we're going to do is simply change the simple weighted means of grades to a weighted means of grades. This is going to allow us to weight categories. Once you select that drop down, click on weighted means of grades, and the page will refresh, and now you'll notice that there's an actual number right next to the category title where it says simple weighted weights of grades, and there's a weight right here. So as I said earlier, with the academic school year, we want to put it at a weight of 8 to 2 or 80% to 2. So I'm simply going to type 80.0. And now I'm going to scroll down in the same column, the weight column right here. I'm going to scroll down, find my final, and I'm going to simply type 20%. And now I simply hit Save Changes. Now, you'll notice that I've made my changes. Everything looks good. I've saved my changes. And now if I navigate to my user report and I select the student, I'm going to select my test account right here. You'll now notice that I have the grades. I can see the students, all the students' grades. And for the academic school year, which is right here in this blue bar, you can see that the student received 100% for the academic school year. And for the final exam, the student received an 80%. If you actually calculate this out on a points basis, so if you take 80% of 100, you know that you're going to get 80 points. If I take 20% of 80, I'm actually given 16. So if I really want to calculate this out in my head, all I would have to do is simply say 80 for the academic school year plus 16 for the final exam gives myself a final grade of 96. That is the way that you guys should go about creating the grade book for the final for Virtual Loudoun. As always, if you have any questions or you run into any issues, please do not hesitate to contact me.